Why is up-leveling your virtual presentation skills or learning a virtual presentation system, why is that important? It may be obvious right now, but it's important because the current situation we find ourselves in is this COVID-19 crisis. And different organizations are handling it differently. But I promise you that when this thing all shakes out, there's going to be about half of the world, half of our clients, half of the people that we interact with, half the people we're trying to sell to, that they're going to say, come on into our office, come do a presentation live, do it in person. It's great. We feel good. We're healthy. We're not afraid. We're good. And there's going to be another half that either are afraid to have people come into their office space, or they just recognize that it's more efficient if they do something virtually instead of in person, and they say, hey, we're just going to adopt this technology and we're going to roll with this moving forward.
I 100% agree with Drew. Perfection is not possible. Progress, that's possible. I think it's helpful when certain metaphors help paint a picture for us. And so for this system, I've chosen one, and that is our experience of going for a meal. And if you think about it, the parallels are definitely there, because when we gather publicly or even virtually, it's with the expectation that this is going to be a satisfying and meaningful experience. I'm going to have something beneficial that I'm going to take in that's going to help me function. And so let's think about it. I'll just set it for you that way. Let's go to the restaurant for a moment. And let's think in terms of, I'm going to be presenting today like I am to you, and you've all gathered, you're all seated at your table. You've come into the restaurant. You're here. You saw the subject, you saw what it was, you showed up. Now, when I talk about a system that can really help you be an effective presenter, it begins with this number one thing: know your role. You need to know the role that you're playing in this scenario that I just described. You are not the superstar. You are not the celebrity. You are not necessarily the restaurant owner. You're not even really the chef necessarily, or at least if you are, you're doing dual duty, because hopefully you've prepared what you're going to say before you show up to do it. We'll talk about that in a minute. The issue is, you are the server. You are here to make certain that people receive something nourishing, something enjoyable, something tasty, something satisfying. Those are all words we can use to describe a great presentation. So that's the backdrop that I'm setting for us. So here we begin. The next 5 things that I'm going to share with you have to do with the actual presentation. And that is this: staying in the metaphor that we've set, being in a restaurant, you're the server, you're here to deliver a satisfying experience to those who've shown up to listen. Here's the first thing you want to do: set the table. All right, you want to set the table. And by set the table, I basically mean you want to let them know what's on the menu, or give them the agenda. That's another way of saying what I'm talking about here, is setting the table. You want to let them know what the purpose of this presentation is. You want to let them know the basic information that you intend to cover, and you want to let them know what to expect. Give them the agenda. Simply put, today, setting the table involved Drew telling you some things, and I chiming in behind him of saying, these are the things we're going to talk about. We want you to increase and up-level your skills in virtual presentations. We're going to talk about a model and steps if you implement them, so forth and so on. You understand where I'm going with that. So set the table. You need to do that right up front. Let people know. So after you set the table, you want to serve up the appetizer. That's a big deal. Now, the purpose of a true appetizer isn't just to give people more food. It's actually to prepare them for what is to come. It is to do something with their palate, awaken their palate, get them to where they're ready to experience what is to come after. And so when I say serve the appetizer, I want you to understand this is the hook. This is your hook. Basically, it answers the question, why should this matter to you? You're basically going to tell them why what you have to say should matter to them. Here's a little freebie. This is a human nature thing. No one changes until it matters to them personally. So if I'm giving information today, if I'm sharing with you all these steps, if I don't help you understand why this should matter, why it's important to you, you're not really going to pay much attention, and you're certainly not going to go the next step of implementing any of the things we talk about. Okay. So serving the appetizer is basically saying, how does this help you? How is this information going to help you? How is it going to do that? What problem will this information solve for you? Those are things you need to understand. This is the appetizer. So as you're doing your presentation, you want to set the table. And then secondly, you want to serve up the appetizer. Tell them why this information is important, why it matters, how it's going to help them, what problem it's going to solve. Okay. So bringing the meal, what does this actually mean? Well, this is really the reason they came. They every now and then people go to a restaurant because they really love the appetizers. But most of the time, people are there for what? The meal. The people who show up today to watch this or are watching this recorded right now came because of the meat. They want the content. The appetizers matter. All that stuff is important, but they're here for the content. So that goes back to be sure you know what you are talking about. Be sure you know your subject. This is why they're here. And I will just tell you, make sure that your content, make it these three things. Make it interesting, make it informative, and make it inspiring. You want to always offer dessert. Always offer dessert. Not everyone wants the dessert. Not everyone's going to order the dessert, but you want to be sure you offer the dessert. Bill, what are you talking about? What is the dessert? Well, this is something that you are going to offer people as a way of giving them a little something extra for investing their time. So what are we doing today? We're offering you a free PDF of this material as a way of saying we appreciate you listening. We are grateful that you tuned in here, and hopefully this was very helpful to you. The truth is, I know if you take these steps and you allow this mindset in your preparation and in your delivery, you are going to be a better virtual presenter. You're going to be much better. You'll be a better speaker in general, but specifically with your virtual presentation skills. So offer the dessert. Maybe it's a free PDF. Maybe it's a checklist of some kind. Maybe it's your slide deck. Maybe you're saying, here, I'm going to shoot you a copy of my slide deck and my notes so people can refer back to it. Tell them what you want them to do next. Tell them their next steps. This is a big deal. Don't leave this one off. Never assume that people intuitively know what to do with what you've just given them. Don't presume that if you've just done an hour-long training on virtual presentations and upping your virtual presentation skills, that people automatically know what their next steps are. Tell them. What does your server usually do right at the end of the meal? Here's your check. Here's how you can pay, whatever. And then they want to tell you something. Hey, have a great day and come back and see us. They're going to tell you what they hope you will do. So I think that's very important when we do virtual presentations. I want to tell you what to do next. And the thing I would tell you today, what to do next, is send me an email to bill@thrivingandtransition.org and say, send me the PDF, and I will do that. That's your next step. If nothing else, that's a takeaway from today that you can refer back to and you can look at when you're preparing for your next virtual presentation. I want to do that little time thing that we talked about earlier. And that is, when I heard Drew had an hour in his live deal that he covered, and I must have taken 6, 7 pages of notes. I take notes, and these weren't in critiques. I was taking note on his content. I was benefiting from what he had to say. I want to make that clear. I didn't take
And
6 pages of notes
I
as
wasn't
to
giving
what
away a
he could have
PDF,
done
so
better. Yeah. So anyway, I took a lot of notes, and that, by the way, that was one of the things that helps me with the attention span of a hyperactive 3-year-old. If I take notes, it really helps me stay engaged. So you do whatever you have to do to stay engaged. But he only had 20 minutes the next day. So when I shared these steps with him and gave him this context and this scenario as a way of thinking about what he was going to be doing, he said, "Okay, I've got 20 minutes." Well, if you think about setting the table and serving the appetizer, bringing the meal, and offering dessert, you got all those things to do in 20 minutes. You need to think in terms, obviously, the most important thing you're going to do is what? Bring the meal. You want them to get the content. So you don't want to spend 15 minutes setting the table and bringing the appetizer and leave yourself with 5 minutes to bring the content. I've watched a lot of webinars that do that to me, and it annoys me, and I never go back.
mm,
I never go back. It's disproportionate. They spend so much time telling me what they're going to tell me, and only a very little time telling me what they said they were going to tell me. That's a waste of my time. And if anything is a takeaway here today, you need to understand that in virtual presenting, people can just click off.
mhm.
They can just close it out. They can leave it. And you don't want that happening to you. So use your time well. So let's say we have a 20-minute window, Drew. Let's say we have the same 20-minute window to do this that you had. Then I think you and I actually talked about this. We actually broke this down just a little bit. Well, you want to make no more than 5 minutes setting the table and bringing the appetizer. You don't want to use any more than 5 minutes to do those things. So if you break it down and say, I'm going to only spend 2 minutes, I'm going to spend 2 minutes setting the table, giving them the agenda. Here's the menu. Here's what we're going to cover. And I'm going to spend 3 minutes helping them understand this is why it should matter to you. This is how it's going to help you. This is the problem it solves for you. Then I'm going to give myself at least 10 minutes of that 20 bringing the meal. I'm going to give them a full 10 of that. Maybe I'm going to give them 12, right? So you can break this down, but maybe we're going to give them 12 minutes of that. So now how much time have we used? Well, we've used 5 and 12. What's it, 17? So we've used 17. We have 3 minutes left to do the next two things. It doesn't take a long time to offer your dessert, but you want to do it. Don't leave it off. It's
Yeah.
easy to do. And I can tell you, and Drew and I've talked about this, as public speakers, as public presenters, trainers, and coaches, the tendency is to be so focused on the content, we leave off the offer.
Mhm.
We forget to make the offer. But you don't want to rob them of that little extra for having invested time. So just leave yourself a little window. But the majority, the biggest block of time in your window, whatever size it is, needs to be on bringing the meal. Okay. Focus
It's
on the content.
Yeah, and something that I did and I've done before when I have a very tight timeline, and I would encourage you to do this, is I take my entire talk and the notes that I have for that and the different chunks of information that I'm giving, and I put a number of minutes next to them. 2 minutes for this part, 3 minutes for this part, 5 minutes for that part. And then if I end up with 25 minutes at the end, I've got to go through and cut out 5 more minutes. And so I go back through and until I have it at 20 or 18 to 20 minutes. And when you do that, you're going to have a better chance of getting there. And then preparation. I
Yep.
did the entire talk in 20 minutes before I went for the client and delivered it.
Yep.
So that preparation is going to increase your confidence, and it's also going to just solidify in your mind how you can get that entire talk down. And it all starts with that beginning part of beginning with the end in mind. Know what your role is, know what you are planning to deliver that day. If you're clear on that, it makes it much easier to cut out different portions of your talk.